All right, guys, we're coming up on Q2. I'm starting to review some numbers, start looking over all the data, and I'm going to come up with a housing market update. You're going to want to stick around because at the end of this, we're going to talk about how you can save thousands of dollars if you're buying a house, plus save money if you're selling a house too. Let's get into it. So one of the biggest trends we're seeing right now is just the housing market stabilizing. You're still seeing prices actually increase a little bit in our area, but not like the crazy it was in 2021 through 2023. You're also seeing a slight bit of inventory, which is good. Buyers are having a little bit more to pick from. Now, statewide, the median sales price is about $425. We're going to be breaking down the counties that kind of incorporate Fredericksburg or the greater area. We're also going to be talking about some interest rates as well. Those are always fun to talk about and probably what drives the housing market more than anything. So let's start with Stafford County. Stafford remains probably one of the strongest counties here in Virginia. Of course, it's right in between Fredericksburg and say Northern Virginia, and also kind of where Northern Virginia starts nowadays, especially with the hot lanes and everything coming down 95 and getting off in Stafford. You also have a couple VRE stops, so a lot of folks that are going to be living there are going to be traveling up north. Now, while the median prices for Virginia might be somewhere in the ballpark of $425, Stafford's a bit higher. Stafford's median sales price right now is $549. Now, what is interesting is homes are taking longer to sell, with the average days on the market around 46 right now, compared to last year where it was about 36. One thing to point out is actually more homes have sold this May than they did last May. Now, when I say May, we are looking at May's data because we're in the middle of June. So we're going to consider this our June market update, but really we're looking at May's data. So I'm looking at last year and this year. So what does this tell us? That there's more inventory, buyers are being more picky, and they're also getting inspections. So as a buyer, this is a great time. Make sure you're not waiving any inspections on, say, multiple offers because you have more to pick from. We are seeing that. There is a little bit of blood in the water on some of these houses. Sometimes buyers, literally, they'll put in a low ball offer, and if they don't like it or if they don't get accepted, they just bounce. So as a seller, of course, this is where price comes into play. Price is going to be your biggest thing right now. You have to price your house competitively. If you try to overprice it thinking you're going to work backwards and do a couple price reductions, I did a study not that long ago and it was pretty eye-opening. So as a seller, here is the one thing I want to tell you. If you sell your house in the first 30 days versus everybody that sold their house 31 plus days, I did a data breakdown, and on average, you're going to lose about $24,000 if you don't sell in those first 30 days. So keep that in mind when you're pricing. I have gotten multiple offers here lately on a couple houses, but we priced about $10,000 low and we were able to get multiple offers. Still got a little bit of inspections waived, but the big thing is that's coming back is some closing cost assistance. Now let's talk about Fredericksburg City itself. Fredericksburg continues to be one of the most desirable locations in Virginia because the walkability, history, and the VRE access. Approximately, it's right in between DC and Richmond. And days on the market are about the same from May of last year to May of this year. About 20 days on the market, 24 days on the market, collectively somewhere in the ballpark of 30 days on the market. Now, for those that don't know, when I say collective, that means it was listed by multiple agents or they took it off the market and put it back on the market. So you have a collective days on the market versus just your days on the market. You don't really have to get into the weeds that much. I'd like it, but you don't need to. All right, looking at the sold median price, May of last year was about $450. This year is actually $525, which was a big skyrocket. Now, we had a spring market. If I were to average those back out, looks like a year over date was about $475 for all the months combined and averaged out. The big thing is if the house is nice, it is going to move pretty quick, especially if it's priced pretty good. You have to be a little bit more competitive if you're looking for the downtown city. But that being said, there is still some inventory out there with them carrying a little bit over 2 months of inventory right now. So there are a few houses for buyers to pick from right now. All right, so let's talk about my hometown then, of course, Spotsylvania County, which is always going to be my favorite because that's where I live. Spotsylvania continues to offer some of the best value in our region. Many buyers that are priced out of Stafford or Northern Virginia are looking towards Spotsylvania simply because they usually get more bang for their buck, of course. Now, Spotsylvania currently is actually showing about 3 months of inventory, which is actually showing an average market. Again, 3 to 4 months of inventory is going to show a pretty standard market. Anything below that is going to show more of a seller's market, and anything above that is now a buyer's market. So Spotsylvania is currently showing 3.1 months of inventory supply. So it's a pretty average market right now. You should have quite a few things to look for. And again, if you price your house competitively as a seller, you should be able to get that house sold pretty quick. Let's get into the stats of the county. So prices have leveled off in Spotsylvania. If I look at May of last year, about 470. If I look at May of this year, we're looking at 474. If I look at the median of the last 12 months, we're looking at about 464,000 for Spotsylvania County. So that being said, we do have some inventory on the market, but the days on the market are still pretty competitive. So looking at May of this year, we're looking at 23 days on the market on average before that house gets a contract, which is actually one of our quicker counties. Now, collectively, we're looking at 40, again, depending if it's been listed multiple times. So now that we've looked at the stats, and what I'll probably do moving forward for, say, June stats, is I'll probably clump all 3 counties kind of together, talking about the greater Fredericksburg region. But let's talk about interest rates a little bit more. Now, the Fed just announced that they're not cutting rates as of right now. So again, interest rates have pretty much leveled off to mid 6s right now. We are seeing some guys that are getting things under, say, 6%, but for the most part, your average rate is going to be somewhere into the low to the mid 6s as of the shooting of this video, which is mid-June. So this is obviously higher than most folks would want, but it's kind of just becoming the market average at this point. We've seen it now for almost 2 years of the mortgage rates being like this. They've gone up, they've gone down, but for the most part, they're averaging right around that mid-6 mark. I mean, the big thing is what's interesting is the buyers are adapting. You would think that many buyers would be backing out of the market, and that is true, but we still see a lot of homes moving in a fairly decent price and at a fairly decent speed, with the average days again being about a month on the market if you price your home correctly. So let's talk about that stat that I was telling you about. So let's talk about if you're a buyer. Right now, what could save you a lot of money is we're seeing closing costs come back. Closing cost assistance. In fact, we have 3 or 4 different contracts going right now, and almost every one of them, we've gotten some sort of closing cost assistance. And for people who don't know, you have your down payment, but you also have closing costs that are associated with that loan. It could be titling fees, taxes, your escrows, your mortgage fees, all that kind of stuff wrapped up into one, which is called your closing cost assistance. A good rule of thumb is 2.5% to 3% of the overall loan. So if we're looking at $300,000, your closing costs could be around $9,000 to $10,000. And we are getting that from sellers. And I'm starting to prepare a lot of my sellers too, that we're seeing it in the market. Now, I don't have the data on that yet to see what the averages are, but I will hopefully have that for our next one. So that is a place where you can save thousands of dollars out of pocket, keep that money in your pocket, or maybe put more money towards buying down the rate. As I've been saying for years now, no one knows where the rates are gonna go, just like the stock market. It's your time to buy when it's your time to buy, and you need to make that decision. I wanna make sure you set a budget in place, and I wanna make sure you don't overshoot what you can afford, because I never want you to be house poor. So do some homework, set up a good budget, figure it out, and we can get you a house. And of course, I can help with all those things as well if you want it. So as a buyer, let's take advantage of some increasing inventory. Let's not skip any inspections. Let's negotiate when appropriate, and let's make sure we always get pre-approved before shopping for houses. If you're selling, of course, let's make sure we price appropriately. We make sure your home sells. We make sure your home shows well, and expect buyers to ask more questions or probably negotiate a little bit harder than what they've thought. So what are the big takeaways? The market is not crashing. It's normalizing. And for most people, that's a good thing. It means buyers can have a little bit more to pick from, and then sellers, assuming that they're not outrageous on pricing, they can sell their house in a pretty good time. And also, I have 2 or 3 home sale contingencies right now that sellers can take advantage of because, again, there's more inventory. Sellers are willing to take some of those home sale contingencies, which gives them ease of moving to their next house. So as always, if you guys are thinking about buying or selling here in Virginia, I would love to be able to help. Give me a call, shoot me a text. We'll put our team email down below. Shoot us an email. We'll get on it. See you next one.